So how many years were you involved in OnlyFans?
5 years,
Oh, that's
starting when I
rough.
was like 20.
And then how did you escape?
I was all alone. I didn't have anybody living with me. I didn't have a boyfriend. I was just really alone. And my dad at the time was very much so using me for money. And I was scrolling on TikTok one night and I saw this guy named Jordan Giordano. We started talking through the app. One night he just called me and we spent like 8 hours on FaceTime just talking. And I was like so relieved to be able to just talk to somebody who was like a real person who wasn't in my industry. You know, everybody in my industry was just so warped, you know, like everybody in that industry just justifies their own sin. Like everything you're doing is fine. And Jordan loved God so much. Like that's all that like oozed out of every pore of him was just Christ. And he was so different from like the religious people I've encountered in the past. So different. Never brought up religion at all. He went to like a non-denominational church and just talked so highly about the one who saved his life.
Yeah.
You know, from potential suicide, from alcohol abuse, you know, God had really saved him and stepped into his life. And he was able to talk to me about those harsh encounters he's had, you know, with God convicting him of his sins. And he just one day in December told me like, hey, you know, like God has so much of a bigger plan for your life and what you're doing isn't it. You know, nobody had stood up to me like that.
So you had told him what you were doing?
Oh yeah, I told him super early on.
Yeah.
So then in December, after he had sent me that message, I was in complete revolt. Like my demons were roaring at that point. I was so upset that someone had confronted me. I'm like, do you know who I am? Like I have power, I have money, I can do anything that I want. And you have the balls to tell me that? You know, I'm also Italian, so I'm extremely spicy. So
I kind of started to pick that up.
So yeah. And then in early January or end of December, that's when I had this crazy encounter with God in my living room at like 1 a.m. where I just heard God tell me like openly, so verbal that like he was all I ever needed out of all the fame, all the power, all the money. He was all I needed to be searching for. And it just struck me so hard. So out of 5 years of like smoking weed and drinking and doing other drugs, I was like free. And I was like, wow, I didn't get saved in that moment, but I called Jordan the next morning. He flew out from Virginia and took me to church where that's when I got saved and baptized that Sunday. And then very shortly after, like a week after, I deleted my OnlyFans.
Wow.
And just gave it all up